First of all, I do want to say that I've really enjoyed this conference, and all the speakers that I've listened to, I've gotten a lot out of it, so I think everybody's been great. And this has been a long time since I've gone to any conferences, so this has been very enjoyable. I appreciate all the speakers, I appreciate all the workers. Anyway, I just want to give a shout out to everybody involved. I've been in practice since 1995, and I just opened up my direct primary care clinic a year ago in August. So what would make someone like me, I'm 63 now, just make a drastic change like that in careers? Well, let me just go over the details and I'll get to the why. On August 1st, 2022, we opened up Zengerle Medical Clinic. It's a direct primary care clinic just outside of Cuero, Texas. I don't know if you know where Victoria is. Some people know where Victoria is. If you know where San Antonio is, we're about 90 miles southeast of San Antonio. The population of Cuero is 8,128 as of the 2020 census. DeWitt County, the county that it's in, is almost 20,000 people. That gives you kind of a picture. So my husband was born and raised there. That's why I settled in Cuero. I grew up in Corpus Christi. And we live outside of town. We live about 6 miles outside of town. Well, our clinic is also on our property where we live. So we're out in the sticks, literally. So that was kind of a gamble, too. The other thing is you can't even see the clinic from the road. We're behind the trees and the brush, and there's a sign, a big sign there, and people will see that. There's a very big 2-story White House on the property next to us. A lot of people go up there to our neighbors and knock on their door, and fortunately, we've got great neighbors, and they send them our way. So we bought the clinic in November 2021. It is a small portable building, one of those buildings you see on the side of the road. It was 560 square feet. Before we even opened, we added 2 additions. We added Daniel's office, he's the office manager, and we added a second exam room. So the total is 774 square feet, not very big. We bought the building for about $12,000 or $13,000, and it was just a shell, completely unfinished on the inside. So Daniel and our 80-year-old uncle who lives down the road finished it out. It took them, I think we were finished maybe July, a month before we opened, and they did a great job. So the total price to finish was probably, we're estimating about $50,000, including the equipment. Fortunately, we were debt-free, so we did go to the bank just to see what getting a loan would entail with the interest rates. We just said, forget it, we'll pay cash. So we were fortunate to have that ability. So why change careers? You know, I loved Goliad, Texas, where I worked. You know, drove 30 miles to work. And worked there from 95 when I got out of residency until 2017. There were some changes in the administration of the clinic. The hospital bought the clinic, and anyway, I didn't like the way things were being run. I knew there was an opening at the VA clinic in Victoria, which is a satellite clinic of Audie Murphy in San Antonio, and we were seeing a lot of those veterans. So I go, okay, well, I'll try working for the federal government. Anyway, I was there 3.5 years. I was the chief medical officer. It was the best paying job I've ever had and the very best benefits. And after that, it's not worth staying there. I love the veterans, and I really feel bad because I saw firsthand the care that they give. It's not all bad. I don't want to really sit up here and knock the VA, but it's just a federal bureaucracy. I know you can understand that. And I had never worked with any unions. So you had the American Federation of Government Employees, something like that. And all the nurses, all the employees were union employees. In fact, the other doctors were union employees. I couldn't be because I was in leadership. Not that I wanted to be in the union, but it really drove healthcare. They didn't have a UA machine, or you couldn't do dipstick UAs at the clinic in Victoria. They drew blood at lab every morning. Audie Murphy would send a runner down and take the lab up there and run it, and that was fine. It worked. It came in overnight. But if somebody came in on a Friday afternoon with hematuria, And like, do they have a UTI? Do they have a stone? Or do they have bladder cancer? What do they have? You know, I wouldn't get anything till Monday. So I thought, okay, well, I'm going to ask for a UA machine. No problem. And the nurses that had been a long time just kind of rolled their eyes and go, oh, yeah, she's green. But we almost made it. So, you know, I talked to my supervisor, Dottie Murphy, and it had to go through the primary care service. And then we went to the lab committee and figured it. They asked me who's going to pay for it. I'm like, I don't know who's going to pay for it. My supervisor said primary care will pay for it. It's okay, yeah, primary care will pay for it. And then it came down to the union getting involved, and they nixed it because they did not want to give their nurses another duty. They had glucometer checks they had to do, which weren't done very often, and pregnancy tests. Yes, we saw women, but the majority of the veterans were men. And so like they were just overwhelmed with all their duties. So they still do not have a UA machine in the Victoria Clinic at the VA. But okay, so that kind of gave me a test of what I was up against. So I still stayed there. But then COVID came around, and it's like the VA there at the clinic just shut down. They would have screeners at the door. The nurses would be screening. If you had a runny nose, they'd send you to urgent care. Go down there. They wouldn't even let them in the door. And so we're sitting there, you know, the doctor's sitting there in our rooms with the door shut, and, you know, then they had us started working from home a day or two a week. So that was kind of crazy. And then the vaccines came out. And at the very beginning, I don't know, just my brain, when I was reading about the mechanism of action, I go, well, who's going to want this? No one's going to want that. You know, I'm like, okay, well, I was wrong on that. But I knew I didn't want it. The messenger RNA was brand new, and I know it takes longer to take a vaccine. I don't know if you remember, what was it, 2008, 2009, when we had the swine flu, and they in the spring, and they came up with a vaccine pretty quick. I mean, to me, that was a red flag then. I stopped taking flu shots after I became allergic to it all of a sudden. Anyway, so I had one of the nurses say, give me a package insert. So have y'all seen a package insert? Yeah. So she handed it to me. There's a big old thick folded up thing. It had intentionally blank, and I just put it in my pocket, and I'll go read it when I get home. You know, it just didn't connect. Because, you know, when you read those things, you fall asleep, right, when there's words on the page. So I took it home and unfolded it, and I was like, the dang thing really is blank. I still have that thing for show and tell to show to patients, and their jaw drops. I tell you, it's a very effective tool. And I go, you know, how can I give you informed consent? And they just go, yeah, you can. Anyway, fortunately, in the part of the state I live in, the rural area, probably, I don't know the percentage, but over half of my patients are unvaccinated, so that's a good thing. So I do have several that are vaccinated and some vaccine injured. Anyway, so you can thank God, because to me that's the main driver in the whole thing for all of us, and COVID for pushing me far enough to get out of my comfort zone and go out on a limb to do something like I'm doing now. So basically, I'm starting a new career. I was 62. I, you know, wasn't sure how it was going to work. Just a lot of prayer. Prayed for wisdom and discernment, and bit the bullet, and here we are. What really drove it is that when I did quit the VA, I took a job 40 miles away in Hallettsville in Lavaca County and worked there in the primary care clinic. And it was a good job. The people were good. Nurses were good. Doctors were nice, although the 3 that were there were all vaccinated, so, you know, kind of in the minority. And good administrator, and even the hospital cafeteria food was great. So the mandates came, and I'm like, I'm not going to take this. But what ticked me off is that I had to ask for permission not to take an experimental product, or else I couldn't work there. So I got the exemption, but it just kind of made me, you know, feel slimy inside that I had to ask. So I threw in a medical one, I threw in a religious one, and fortunately the administrator was pretty much passed and everybody went through without grief. So that was good on the administrator, but it was the idea, and I figured this is not going to stop, you know, so that's when we decided to shift gears. And it was a gamble, and it's paying off as the best decision I ever made. So if any of you are on the fence and thinking about doing this, if I can do it, anybody out here can do it. I guarantee you. I know you can, so don't hesitate. Many of you are probably already out of the insurance game anyway. So when I first learned of DPC, I was looking for cash pay prices and ran across the model. I hadn't heard of it before. I wanted to know how to go about it, looked for those in Texas, and I ran across CAT in Brock, and I thought, oh, that's interesting. So closer by, I ran across Dr. Roger Machagumba. He does go by Dr. Roger because nobody knows how to say Machagumba, but anyway. And I looked at his website, and I go, he's got a pretty awesome website, which I'm not going to build a website, but I knew I needed one. So anyway, we met with him. He was kind enough to meet with Daniel and I, and we had a long list of questions. We didn't know where we were getting into, so he tolerated us, and the rest has been history. 2 really good things you told us that helped our fears was Hint, which is, correct me if I'm wrong, it's this software or the company that helps with the billing, and that's a lifesaver. They do so much more with billing. They keep statistics, and it's pretty easy to run. And Spruce. Spruce is an app that members use. It's a messaging app that's HIPAA compliant, and they can communicate with you 24/7. If they send a text at 1 in the morning, they know I'll get it in the morning. They know it's not supposed to be used for emergencies. So that's been a lifesaver. And I have paper charts. I don't use electronic records. I got my belly full of those, so I use paper charts. But now you have to electronically prescribe controlled substances. So I can do that. There's an app you can get on your phone called iPrescribe, and that's been a lifesaver. I use it for all my prescriptions, not just controlled substances. So like even here at the meeting, I was getting some messages and somebody needed a refill, so I could get that done for them. That would never happen before, because it's just Daniel, myself, and one LVN that work in the office. Now, she was in the office doing administrative work Thursday and Friday, so that was helpful. But she would text me, so I could still kind of take care of people while I was gone. That could never happen before. Let's see. So anyway, Dr. Rogers has been a big help. And the other advice he gave us, I was looking at his website, and I knew I wasn't going to make my own. So we use Shank's website development. That Shank's is SHANKX. And Dr. Roger told me about them. He uses them, and I use them also, and they were very great to work with. Shankar Poncelé and Andrea Ferguson took a very special interest, it seemed like, in helping Daniel and I succeed. They not only do they make the website, but they help with your marketing. They pushed me way out of my comfort zone, got me to do some videos on social media, and that actually helped because people looked at that. They would give me feedback. Patients would come in. I'd always ask them how they heard about us. A lot of them heard on social media. They developed our logo, our business cards. They even drove down from San Antonio to see what Quail looked like, shot a video of the town, shot a video of the clinic. So I can't say enough about them. I very much highly recommend them if you're looking for any help along those lines. And the biggest thing is they knew the DPC model, so I wasn't going to find any website developer that knew anything about DPC, much less healthcare. The other thing I learned is that in order to see Medicare people and not accept Medicare for payment, I had to opt out. And I'm like, okay, that should be easy enough. Well, no, it's not. You can only do it 4 times a year, and you have to get the timing right. And so the AAPS, once again, came through. There's a lot of good resources. You have written a lot of things on there, Dr. Huntoon. And Jeremy Snavely, I'll tell you, that man was right there helping me the whole way, and he's awesome. I think he must be looking at his phone or computer all the time. You send an email, and boom, you get an instant response, it seems like. So very helpful. I couldn't have done it without him. The stress of developing something like this was pretty incredible. So guys like him helped really reduce the load. So yeah, use those people. They can help you out. And of course, as Dr. Roger was saying, DPC is membership-based. But living where I live, I knew nobody, patient-wise, was really going to be very familiar with DPC and the whole membership thing. So we decided to have 2 avenues, and I'm glad we did. It was a good decision. And we also have a lower membership fee than most do just because of the rural location. I'm not going to be able to charge San Antonio or Austin prices, and that's fine. I'm perfectly okay with that. So our membership is $49 a month, but I do charge a $10 in-person fee or a telemedicine fee. Nobody balks at that at all. But there's some people that want to come see me, and they go, well, I really don't know if I want to be a member. It's like, okay, $99 for a new patient, $65 for established. So they can keep coming over and over again, $65. And they do that. The funny thing is, a lot of those people that elected not to do membership have come to see me a couple times, gotten themselves into trouble, and they go, maybe I ought to be a member. So we've got members that way. So my goal was to, and I do telemedicine too, I don't know if I said that. We do telemedicine as needed. So my goal was to, in the first year, get 100 members. I was very fortunate by December to have 100 members. So I was very happy about that. So as of October 19th, the total number of patients we've seen, and I don't mean separate encounters, it's the total including members and non-members, is around 540 total. I'm happy with that because I don't have to have a crowded waiting room. The DPC model, you don't have to see patients every 15 minutes like Dr. Roger does, 1 hour for a new patient and 30 minutes for established patients. So right now, the total number of active members we have is around 218. We've had altogether, including those that have canceled or died, 271. So you're going to lose members. You just can't be too frustrated with that. Some they just can't pay the bill. Some they move away. Some they just some of the younger generation just seems to go under the radar and stop paying. You can't contact them. You send them an email, you send them a snail mail, you send them a certified return receipt requested, telephone call, and they just drop off. So you just have to take them off. But, that's just the way it goes. Our average growth rate, and this is something that Hint does for you, they can calculate all kinds of things, has been about 18% a month, and that refers to just the membership only. So we've been blessed and fortunate to have a positive cash flow since opening day. We've been out of debt. We were out of debt before we opened this, and we're still out of debt. And now we're actually paying ourselves a little bit. We need to go to the grocery store, we'll pay ourselves and go to the grocery store. So we've been very blessed that way. We estimate that the fee for service makes up about 50 to 60% of the total patients. So making that decision proved to be a good one. And it's not because I was smart. I think, again, I really think that was divine intervention to come up with an idea like that. So lab prices, we use LabCorp, and the lab prices are incredibly low. Like a CBC is around $3.50. A vitamin D level is 11, getting up there, right? But so through direct primary care, LabCorp will work with you. The patient pays me cash, and then we get billed by the lab monthly. And as far as marketing, getting the word out, we did run some ads in the local newspaper, which is primarily Victoria, and some of the smaller papers in Cuero and Yorktown. And we had some paid advertising on our Facebook page through the local newspaper. They just you pay the newspaper, and on their Facebook page, they just kind of push it to where it's seen more often. Shankar and Andrea encouraged, like I said, encouraged us to use social media, and a lot of people saw that. And somehow I was fortunate enough to have a front page story in the Victoria newspaper about a month before we opened. You had asked when that was, and I'm like, I don't remember. So I had to go look it up. It was July 7th, 2022, and they got pictures, discussed what a DPC was, and several patients said they saw that article. But all that being said, the vast majority has been word of mouth. It's helped that I've been in the community since 1995, so the ones that still like me, found me and would come see me. But I'm pulling from town's 2 hours away. I'm pulling from Corpus Christi, and it's kind of interesting. Some from San Antonio, and I'm on the FLCC website, so some people are looking for COVID help, and they'll find me that way. I'll do some telemedicine with people in San Antonio or Houston if they're looking for help with that. So anyway, that's all I have to say. And Daniel, am I leaving anything out you can think of? No? Okay. So that's good. And I guess we'll have questions later, right? Okay. Thank you.